Welcome back, viewers, to the latest researches and news. As we told you in our previous video, on August 17th, the Tigray Defense Forces 17th Infantry Army crossed the Tekeze River under Colonel Jabha Beyen's command, engaging Ethiopian National Defense Force and local Tekeze Guard forces in multi-hour fighting that continued sporadically into August 18th. To this day, there's still no clear, independent confirmation of the exact casualties from that engagement. Now, the real question is, what happened after August 18th? Before we answer that, let's first understand exactly why this particular corridor matters so much. The Tekeze River corridor, covering western Tigray and the Wilkete-Tegede-Setit-Humera zone, is a genuinely important area. It's not just an ordinary border region, it's critical on three separate levels: military, political, and economic. This area sits very close to the Sudan border. Whichever side controls this corridor can also control supply lines, fighter movement, and logistics coming in from Sudan. For the Tigray Defense Force, this area represents what's called strategic depth. If they gain control here, it could create a direct link to their own forces reportedly present in Sudan, such as Army 70. For the Ethiopian National Defense Force and Amhara aligned forces, including the Tekeze Guard, also known as Tekeze Zeb, this is a defensive line. If this line breaks, it could leave the whole of western Tigray exposed and open. The river itself also functions as a natural barrier. Crossing it isn't easy, which is exactly why whichever side controls the actual crossing points, like Megaba and Sherina, both places we've already reported fighting in, holds a real tactical advantage. This explains a lot about why we keep seeing engagements specifically at named crossing points rather than random locations along the river. Controlling a crossing point isn't just about holding ground, it's about controlling who and what can move across this natural barrier at all, which makes these specific points far more valuable than the surrounding territory. This is disputed territory. Tigray considers this its western zone, while Amhara claims it as the Wilkete-Tegede-Setit-Humera zone. The 2022 Pretoria Agreement never resolved the final status of this area, which is exactly why it remains the most sensitive political issue tied to this conflict. Whichever side maintains control here can create what's often called facts on the ground, which can translate into a stronger position in any future negotiation. This directly connects to everything we've already told you about the unresolved terms of the Pretoria Agreement and the Tigray People's Liberation Front's own statements tying their military posture to the unfulfilled return of Western Tigray. Every clash in this specific corridor isn't just a military event, it's also, in effect, a move in an ongoing, unresolved political negotiation that never reached a final conclusion. This area contains large agricultural land used for growing sesame and cotton, both highly valuable export crops. Whichever side controls this land gains both revenue and local influence. Because of its proximity to the Sudan border, this corridor is also home to informal trade routes and smuggling activity. This adds a financial incentive on top of the military and political one's control here. Isn't just about defensive lines or negotiating leverage. It's also about who benefits economically from some of the most valuable farmland in the region, plus whatever revenue flows through informal cross-border trade. This corridor is part of the tri-border area where Ethiopia, Sudan, and Eritrea meet. Activity here directly affects Sudan's own security. We've already seen instances where shelling has reportedly reached into Sudanese territory. Eritrea also has its own interests in this area, which means further escalation here carries the risk of pulling in a wider regional conflict. This ties directly into what we discussed in our coverage of Eritrean weapons reportedly moving into southern Tigray. This corridor sits at the intersection of exactly the kind of cross-border dynamics that could turn a localized clash into something involving multiple countries, not just Ethiopia's own internal factions. According to the latest available reports, no major new fighting has been confirmed on this front. In other words, major fighting in the Tekeze River area appears to have paused since the August 17th to 18th clash. But that doesn't mean the situation has returned to normal. Forces on both sides remain active. The Tigray Defense Force still has deployments present in this western Tigray corridor, while the Ethiopian National Defense Force and local Amhara aligned forces continue holding their positions as well. As we explained, this area remains strategic precisely because of its proximity to the Sudan border and because of the history of activity that has already taken place here. Looking at the bigger picture, the Western Tigray front currently appears to be in what we describe as a controlled tension phase. There hasn't been a large open war here, but small-scale activity and troop presence continue on both sides. Similarly, the rear front hasn't seen a major clash since mid-August either, though deployments remain in place there too. This situation reinforces exactly what we discussed in our earlier strategic analysis of the Tigray Defense Force, that they appear to be maintaining pressure across multiple fronts simultaneously without launching a full-scale war, using limited actions specifically to keep the Ethiopian National Defense Force stretched thin. On the other side, the Ethiopian National Defense Force's response continues to look defensive and targeted, similar to the drone strikes we've already reported on other fronts, rather than a large counter-offensive. This calm could well be temporary. If either side introduces a new provocation or attempts a further advance, these limited clashes could turn back into major fighting. Because this corridor in Western Tigray is already this sensitive, every small development here carries real weight. Given everything we've explained about the military, political, economic, and regional stakes tied to this specific stretch of river, even a small incident here has the potential to escalate faster than a comparable incident elsewhere, which is exactly why we're dedicating a full breakdown to explaining its importance today, rather than treating it as just another front among many. So here's where things currently stand. After the Tekeze River clash on August 17th and 18th, no major new fighting has occurred, but tension has not eased. Forces remain present on both sides, the situation stays fluid, and the risk of renewed escalation remains real, especially given how much military, political, economic, and regional weight this specific corridor carries. We'll continue watching this front closely, and as soon as any new confirmed update comes in, we'll bring it straight to you. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss it.